I want to introduce to you a framework for how you can achieve any goal, no matter what it is, no matter what chaos occurs. And I want you to have the opportunity to make 2022 an amazing year to remember.
Building your business one night at a time.
That's what I want for you. That's my promise to you, that if you'll implement this framework, that will create that kind of change, that kind of transformation in your life. So with that, let's go. Now, when we start doing goal planning and setting goals and getting ready to think about amazing things, this is how we feel. The thing that we're going to accomplish is represented by the chart in the back. We're going to go up and to the right, and we have this level of excitement. I think this is particularly true at this time of the year. We're so excited about all our New Year's resolutions and everything that we're going to do. But oftentimes by February or March maybe, or April, we feel like this. And that's not a good feeling. And I think you can feel that with me. And once that happens to you 2 or 3 times, you look like this, right? I mean, you really start to doubt your own capability to deliver for yourself. And that's a very bad place. We want to change that. We want to flip the script on that. And in order to do that, there are 3 things that we need to get. We need to get them here in our mind, and we need to actually go get them. And that's what we're going to talk about today. This framework is a 3-thing framework. And it's actually represented by frames. See what I did there? And we're going to go get these things. First, we're going to get clear. We're going to get clear on exactly what we want and why we want it. And that is super important. And then we're going to get leverage over what it is that we want. We're going to actually get the mechanical leverage that we need to get things done. And then we're going to get going. And I'm going to talk to you about exactly how to execute to the point where you know exactly what to do today on Wednesday, January 12th. You're going to know exactly what to do. And if you fast forward ahead to April 7th, you're going to know exactly what to do that day. We need to know what to do, because we find that often our paralysis comes from not knowing exactly what to do. And in the end, we're going to do all this. We're going to get clear, get leverage, and get going so that we can get results. And not just results. I'm going to do you one better. I'm going to help you get results that matter. So our agenda today, as I mentioned, is going to be how to get clear. We're going to talk about beginning with the end in mind, setting smarter goals. The SMART framework has been referenced. A lot of you know about that. I'm going to give you some real clarity around that smarter goal framework and how it applies to you today. We'll talk about getting leverage, understanding why your goals are what they are. I mean, what is your goal there for? Why is it there, and why is it your goal? And how to get leverage over that goal. And then we're going to talk about a very specific execution plan where you can win every day and actually know, get up in the morning and have already decided ahead of time exactly what you need to do today. So the first thing we'll talk about now is how to get clear. How can we get clear on what it is that we want to do? We talked about clarity a couple of times. And when we talk about getting clear, when we talk about setting goals, what we're really talking about, when you really boil it down, is creating the future. You know, we put a lot of different names on it, but let's be honest about what we're trying to do. We have a future in mind that we are trying to bring to life. And so we're creating the future. Every time you write down a goal, whether it's a little goal or a small goal, and you project forward in time, you're creating the future, because, as Stephen Covey taught us, everything in the universe is created twice. The first thing you have to do is to imagine a thing, And then you can go off and build the thing. This is especially true for entrepreneurs. If you want to get to a place, you need to imagine what it's like to be there. And really what we're talking about is a process that I like to call visioneering. We're looking forward in the future and we're imagining what it's going to be like when I have those 20 clients and I'm making that $20,000 a client or whatever it is your imagination is. I'm bringing that to life in my mind. This is really important. And if you're in a place where you're not sure exactly what it is that you want, I encourage you to spend the time to actually imagine what you want your life to be like. Engineer the vision, visioneer that vision. And here's why. It's not just because you need the clarity, because you absolutely need the clarity. The other reason that you want to do it is that when you have a clearly defined goal in your mind, and you've visualized that goal, there's a lot of scientific evidence that proves out the fact that your mind will offer you solutions to problems that you're going to encounter on the way. I'll tell you two things that'll make you believe this. Showering and brushing your teeth. How many of us have had amazing ideas or solutions or aha moments when we were brushing our teeth or standing in the shower? We have that because our subconscious mind is free at that time. We're not thinking about anything. Our subconscious mind is percolating those thoughts to the surface. This is only possible if you're clear on what your mind needs to be working on. And a corollary to this is when you're setting goals and you know what the goal is and you're super clear on it, but you're not sure about exactly how to get there, I don't want you worrying about that. One of the things that we see that causes people to hesitate is they've got a goal and there's 17 steps to the goal and they don't know how to do step 15, so they don't start. And I'm going to tell you, you don't need to worry about step 15 until you get to step 15. Then you can worry about that. And there are things that will be presented to you, solutions that will be presented to you. These solutions will come to you, or you will do the work to find those solutions at that time. Don't let that stop you from moving forward. So you've got this vision and you know where you want to get. And in order to make it real, in order to make it happen, in order to cause that thing that you've envisioned to come into being, you need some goals. Sometimes I hear people talk about, I don't need goals. I'm going to tell you what, in my 30 years of experience in corporate America, not only do you need goals, you need great goals. You need to know exactly what you're going. This would be like, I'm going to get in the car and go to a destination, but I'm not going to pick the destination. Look, if you don't know where you're going, you are not going to get there. And the more specific you are about exactly where you're going, the better it's going to be. So we hear about this smarter goal framework. It used to just be the SMART goal framework, but a lot of people now have added the ER on there, and we'll talk about that when we get down there. But the first thing is the goal needs to be very specific. This is the difference between a goal that says, I will make more money, or I will create and sell a new course on copywriting. You know, this is the difference, the specificity of the goal. And a really good goal that meets the specificity test, this S test, is if you write your goal down and you hand it to someone who knows nothing about what you're doing, can they understand the goal? Is there enough information there so that an independent observer can look at it and say, yep, I can tell whether or not you've hit that goal, even though without us having a discussion, I can tell that you made it. That's what a specific goal looks like. Somebody who knows nothing about your business can understand your goal. The M in smarter goals is that it needs to be measurable. And, you know, in corporate America, this is more critical than you can possibly imagine. But you need to be able to objectively determine whether or not you've met your goal. I will lose weight is not a very good goal. I will lose 37.3 pounds is a really good goal. It makes the goal real, but more than that, it gives you the ability to measure your progress along the way. Because guess what? If I need to lose 37.2 pounds by the end of the year, then I know I need to lose 8 pounds by the end of February. And that means that I can tell where I am today. I can measure. I know where I am in the race. If my goals are measurable, I can assess my current situation and make adjustments. If I'm just floating around talking about whether I might lose a little weight, I can't really tell you where I am today and how I'm doing, and that is not a recipe for success. Of course, the goal needs to be achievable. That's the A in Smarter. You can't pick a goal that you can't achieve. If I were to tell you today that my goal is to be president by the next election, I want to be president of the United States. Actually, that might not be such a bad idea, but it's not realistic. I can't achieve that goal in that time frame. And usually it's the combination of those two things. I don't usually believe that there's much that we can't achieve given the right time and resources, but you don't want to set a goal that says I'm going to be making $10 or $15 million a year by the end of the month if you're starting at zero, right? So time makes a big difference. You need to make sure that your goal is achievable. So instead of being president in a short time frame, maybe I want to get elected to the state senate as a first step. And really what this is about is just breaking the goal down into sub goals and setting the right time frame. And we're going to talk about that when we get to execution. The next thing is, are your goals realistic and relevant given your leverage? Now, this is different than achievable. Achievable has this idea of realistic in it. It's can you realistically achieve it? But really realistic is given the resources that you have at your disposal, which is leverage, can you really get it done? And that's the whole topic of section 2. So I'm going to defer the realism until section 2. We're going to talk about it in some great detail. And then finally, you need to make sure your goals are timely. I actually prefer the phrase time bound. You need a clear deadline so you can measure your progress, so you can use it as a guide on your journey, and you need to understand the consequences to missing that deadline. I will lose 37.3 pounds this year is not as good as by August 15th, I'm going to lose that weight. Then on top of that, people have recently said, hey, let's make them even better and let's call them smarter. How clever is that? And in a lot of places, this is my favorite use of the E in smarter, is ethical. I want to encourage you to never, ever, under any circumstances, have a goal that in any way compromises your ethics. If you don't feel 100% great about whatever your goal is, I want you to change your goal or reconcile that before you proceed. And here's why. It's not because I think you should always be ethical, although I do think you should always be ethical. It is because if you have that internal conflict with your goals, you want to make money, but you don't feel like it's right taking people's money. You've got limiting beliefs around money, or whatever your ethical dilemma is, or you think you want to have a marketing business, but deep down inside you think marketing is what yucky people do, and you're embarrassed to tell people you're a marketer. If you have an ethical dilemma in your business, you will self-sabotage. You will not be successful. You do not have a chance. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200 on the E. You have got to make sure that, and what we're really saying is that your goals are in alignment with your morals, scruples, and values. And then finally, we want to make sure that your goal is reasonable. And what the other R word that I like here is readjust. This is something that we talked about a little bit earlier today. If you get new information that informs you that there's a better goal for you, or that an adjustment is more aligned with what you need to do, or that your goal was set without information that you needed and now you've got better information. Rather than spending the rest of the time failing at a goal, let's make an adjustment to either a more aggressive goal or a less aggressive goal that still meets your requirements for whatever it is you're trying to achieve. That is an intelligent redirection. Now, in corporate America, we take this very seriously. If you commit a certain goal to the board of directors, then you don't achieve it and you say, well, we just decided we didn't want to do that. You know, around summertime, we decided, it doesn't make sense anymore. That won't fly with the board of directors in corporate America, and it shouldn't fly with you. However, if you learn new information, for example, you have some goal that's predicated on research that doesn't pan out and there's no path forward, or there's some other thing that's a legitimate obstacle that you can't overcome, or even better, you've learned that your goal is not nearly aggressive enough and you can do much better, you should revise those goals. Reasonable readjustment and revision is the meaning of R. So that's what we think about when we think about smarter goals. Now, you probably know this. You've probably seen this smarter goal thing. What I've tried to tell you here is why you should pay attention to these letters, why they're important, not just what they are, but what they enable in your goal setting process. Now, some tips and notes of caution. Number one, be careful not to set too many goals. I've got a picture of one of my favorite books on the right-hand side, the One Thing book. This is a great book that talks about how really, if you want to really do something amazing in your life, you need to focus on the one essential thing. I think that's true in some ways, and the book is incredibly valuable. I don't take that to mean that I can't have a weight loss goal at the same time I have a business goal. I take it to mean that in areas of focus where you want to achieve excellence, you should have one goal. Now, that one goal may be made up of a couple of goals that support it, but you really need focus. So if your goal for this quarter is to create a course and do more lives and start a coaching program and go on speaking tour and write a book, you're going to be so distracted by that, you're not going to do anything. So it's almost always better to narrow down. This doesn't really apply to habit goals. Habit goals, especially the ones that support the other goals, and that's something that we'll talk about here a little bit as well. It's fine to have multiple of those. And another tip that I want to give you is what I see a lot is people write their goals down at the beginning of the year, and then they put them in a drawer. Please do not do that, okay? Look at your goals at a minimum every week, and I'm going to tell you exactly when to look at those goals, but you want to do that every week. And if you have things that are standing in the way of your goal, like your television or some other distraction, print out your goals and tape them to the damn television. Don't watch NCIS, go work on your goals. Let people that lift you up know about your goals, but be careful not to share your goals so much with people that are normally taking you down. If you've got people in your life that don't understand online business, don't understand what you're trying to do, your success is not in their best interest, let's not share with those people. And then finally, I want you to put your goals everywhere, like I mentioned, especially on the TV, on the refrigerator. If you've got a weight loss goal, I want you to print the thing out in giant font and go staple it to the refrigerator and to the scale and to the bathroom mirror so that you're constantly looking at that, because not only is it reminding you, it's also programming your subconscious mind to offer up solutions and to get you to the right behaviors. So that's the first thing, getting clear, getting those goals defined, getting really good goals written down. Once you have goals, then we have this tendency to have them and keep them for a while and then they die. And it's because oftentimes we don't have the leverage we need to get the goal done. Now, what is leverage? Leverage in the financial industry is usually borrowing money to go do a thing to make more money than you borrowed. You borrow money, you buy a company, you service the debt, and then you sell that company for way more money than you borrowed. That's leveraged buyouts are a big part of financial worlds, okay? Leverage in our context is using the resources that we have at our disposal to get more out of the investment that we're going to make than we put in. We need to get leverage over our goals. It really means properly using the resources we have. And we do this in corporate all the time. We're constantly looking at ROI against these goals and as a way to get things done. And in fact, sometimes the setting of our goals is informed on the leverage that we have. We set the goals knowing that we have certain leverage. And I do this in my own business. If I know that I'm particularly good at a thing or I have particular access to a resource, I'll use that information when I'm writing my goals. Always remember to create leverage by taking advantage of external resources. One of the things that we do as solo entrepreneurs is we decide that we need to do everything ourselves. We need to be the answer to every question and every problem because after all, it's our business. This is not true. So what kind of leverage can we create? Well, the first thing you can create is you can use to create leverage is money, obviously. And what do you do with money? Primarily, you use money to buy expertise or time to accelerate your plans and increase the likelihood of success. Yes, I have a copy of Photoshop. Yes, I can edit graphics. No, I can't do it very well. And no, I cannot do it very quickly. I need to use money to get leverage over that problem. If I've got a goal of creating some content online and part of that content is graphics and I insist on doing that stuff myself, even though that's not in my zone of genius is the phrase that you often hear, what I'm doing is failing to use the leverage that I have to achieve my goal. Connections. One of the great things about Mastermind is that you know all kinds of people, right? And I'm sure you have people in your life that can help you do things. You should engage those people. You would be amazed at how much people in general want to help you. But if they don't understand how they can help you or that you're open to being helped, you're not going to get that leverage from them. Don't be afraid to ask people to help you in small and sometimes even large ways. That's the kind of thinking that you need to have. That's part of having an abundance mindset. And when you find other people with an abundance mindset, they will help you. And then, of course, knowledge. All of you have specific knowledge. You can use your knowledge as a leverage over problems, but I want to encourage you. In fact, I'm going to do more than encourage you. I'm going to implore you. I'm going to implore you to employ an idea called just-in-time learning. If you don't need it right now, don't learn about it. If you're not writing a sales page right now, don't go listen to 17 hours of lectures on how to write sales pages and how to overcome objections and all that. That's not what you're doing right now. Right now, you're doing something else, like maybe creating your course. Maybe you need to learn some things about how to create courses, but you don't need to worry about the sales page right now. Again, that's step 15. So I want to implore you to declutter your mind and stop learning about things that you don't need right now. That is just a crutch that's keeping you from achieving your goals. And then finally, the biggest piece of leverage you can get, absolutely full stop, is to have alignment with your assignment. If your goal is aligned with your purpose, whatever that is, then you automatically have amazing leverage that will allow you to run circles around your problems. Did you know that every human being is created with a purpose and that they have a responsibility to not only discover that purpose, but also to fulfill it? Did you know that? Zig taught us that. And when I talk about this topic of purpose, I'm often reminded of this, and I don't know who to attribute this to, but I will tell you that I really believe this. The two most important days in your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. And, when people talk about this, I start talking to people about, God, you really need to understand why you're doing the things that you're doing. And we use the P word, purpose. And people, they don't like that word. It's a heavy, heavy word. And they feel like the only way they're going to know their purpose is if God comes down and takes over control of a billboard or their television set or speaks directly to them and says, your purpose is online shopping or whatever, right? It usually doesn't happen that way, right? And so understanding your purpose is really a journey and not an event. Now that you know that, you can become completely unburdened on this issue of purpose. You can evolve into your purpose, and that's a much more freeing place to be, because you will generate maximum leverage over your goals when you understand why you set them. And when your goals are aligned with your purpose, with what you're trying to achieve, that's when you get that leverage. So it's really important that you know that. And the other reason that it's important is that if you know why you're doing a thing, if you have a goal and you know why it's important, like intrinsically important to you, you understand it's aligned to your purpose. And what that means is it's intrinsically important to you. It's inherent. Then you can endure all the difficulties. Because the other thing that we hear from people is they stop doing a thing because the thing got hard. Well, guess what? If you're clear on why you're doing what you're doing, you can eat glass if you need to make something happen. I don't recommend the glass eating thing. That's not a thing. But you understand what I mean. You can do anything that you have to do if you're really clear on why you're doing it. I don't know if you ever had the opportunity to meet Gail Hyatt. This is Michael's wife. She is the actual brains behind the operation over there. She once said, and this has been often quoted, that people lose their way when they lose their why. And I think this is great. So what do we do when we set a goal and we don't complete it? Oftentimes, if we're really honest about it, we lose our way during the journey, right? We don't get there because we just kind of petered out, got lost interest, lost ambition. I don't know. We lost our way. I submit to you that most of the time when this happens, it's because you didn't know why you had the goal to begin with, or it wasn't really deeply connected with why. And you say, well, Mark, I don't know how to do that. It's fine for me to sit here and tell you need to know why, but it's not really fair because I haven't told you how. Well, I'm going to do that now. I'm going to tell you how to find your why. That's a whole separate 2-hour lecture, how to find your why. But let me just tell you one simple idea that has 2 parts. And that is that when people are trying to understand why they're doing a thing, why do we want this goal? There's usually 2 reasons. They're either running away from something or running towards something. That's usually, in a simplified way, the motivation that most people have, the thing that they can tap into to get leverage. And so what I want you to do is to understand what you're running away from when you look at that goal. And by that, I mean, are you building this business because you're trying to get away from work that you hate, because you have financial stress, because you're afraid of the future and you want to build a hedge against that? What is it that is motivating you from the negative side, the things that you run away from? And I want you to tap into that and really spend some time articulating that to yourself so that you can get leverage over this goal. You know you need to go do it, and you know why you're doing it, because you're worried about these things. That's running away from motivation. And it ties directly into Dr. Fred. Your prosperity is hidden beneath your pain. It equally applies in this case where you're understanding your pain as a way to get to your goals. And your goal might be to write a book. It's exactly the same idea. And I want you to write this down. And we won't stop to do this right now because we have some time constraints. But I want you to come back to this and spend some time. And by some time, I mean, more than 2 minutes. I want you to spend some time meditating on the bad things that will happen if you don't achieve your goal. And I want you to document that so that you can get some leverage over achieving that goal. But then there's the other side of the coin. It's the yang to the yin. It's the stuff we run toward. And I love the puppy dog running toward something that he's really, really excited about, right? He's running towards happiness and love and affection and all the things that puppy dogs do. That's what this puppy dog is doing in this picture. He's running towards something. And I'll submit to you that while pain motivation is really good and it's really good to get you started, if you're going to finish, you really need to have this other side of the coin, this motivation that's around what your goal will mean to you that's very positive. We talk about things like time freedom, financial freedom, creative freedom. Independence of location is something that we've talked about lately. Your own self-worth, and I think you can be honest about that. It's not narcissistic to say, I want to be successful so I can feel good about the work that I'm doing, or perhaps you are called. I mean, you need to understand what these things are, and more than just understand them, you need to be able to articulate them, because after all, that is the evidence that you truly understand them when you articulate them and you can say, this is why. These are the reasons why I'm doing this thing. So I want you to do the same exercise with this at some time in the future. I want you to sit down and I want you to write these things down, because this is so critically important for you to get the leverage over your goals to make 2022 different than all the years that came before this. Okay, that's really what we're trying to achieve here. Now, I'll give you one more hint when it comes to finding your why, and it's this model. This is adapted from people that are smarter than me. Most of the stuff in this presentation, by the way, comes originally from people that are much smarter than me. In fact, that's the key to my whole success in business, is that I've constantly made a direct effort to hire people that are smarter, faster, braver, stronger than me, and gotten out of their way. And for this model, I think this is a super helpful model to understand your why. When you're looking for your why, where do you look? I encourage you to look at the intersection of where your values overlap with your skills, talents, and interests. After all, if you look at some of the most successful people in the world, obviously they are doing something that they do well. Because if you don't do it well, you don't have talent, you won't be successful, right? So you got to have some talent. And an example there is, I'd really like to be a Major League Baseball player. I don't have the talent and I'm too old. So there's a double strike there, okay? So you need to have the talent. You also need to be interested. So I know some really, really, really amazing accountants that hate their job because they don't give a crap about accounting, right? So you have to be interested. When you're looking for your why, you have to be interested in the topic around your why, whether it's helping people. That has to be something that you care about and that you have an intrinsic interest in. If you're not intrinsically interested in how copywriting works and why it works and the details of it, it's going to be really hard for you to be a good copywriter. Or if you want to be a good coach, but you're not really interested in the mechanics of coaching and understanding how to be a better coach, it's possible, but it's going to be really much more difficult for you to be an effective coach because you just don't care about coaching. So look at the intersection between talent and interest, and of course, values and skills. Skills are different than talent in the sense that they are learned, where talent is intrinsic. If you look in this way, you can find your why there. Your why may be helping people achieve a thing, right? Helping people achieve their dreams because you're talented at it, you're interested, and it's consistent with your values and you've got coaching skills. That can be your why. Put your goal inside there. Okay, put your goal inside there along with your why. When you're still stuck and you're needing to find your why, you need to just ask better questions. The slide says ask the right questions. For most of us, we need to be asking better questions about what makes us come alive, what makes us really light up, what makes you excited, what makes you fist pump like Tiger Woods, what makes you do that? What are your strengths? Where are you able to truly add value? If you ask people that know you, what would they say? What does Mark do that's uniquely valuable? Or when do I always turn to Mark because I know I'm going to get the right answer? You should be asking those questions to get these answers about why. And then I think the morbid version of this is, what do you want on your tombstone? But I think a better version is, how will you measure your life? When you're looking back on your life, what do you want to be able to say about what you did? These are ways that you can understand what your purpose is, why you're doing the things that you're doing. And then once you understand that, you can align your goals with that and get amazing leverage over problems. Discover your why, get leverage over your goals so that you can have alignment for your assignment. Critical thing. Maybe if you only take one thing away from all of this, take Dr. Fred away. Maybe you need a little Dr. Fred doll that sits on your shoulder and goes around with you every day. And when you punch him in the nose, he says, "You got to have alignment for your assignment." Something like that, all right? How was that? That's my Dr. Fred impersonation. All right. So once we do that, we're going to get going, okay? We got to get going so we can get results. After all, up to now, we haven't done anything. And one of the things I've heard expressed a couple times over the last couple of days is I don't know what to do. I don't know what to work on. Because right now I've got this well-written, smarter goal. I got a lot of leverage over it. I'm clearly motivated, but I don't know what to do tomorrow. I don't know what to do next. And here's why. It's because a goal without a plan is just a wish. And you've heard this many times, but I have a goal, I know where I want to be, but I don't have a plan, and therefore I am what? I am super stuck, totally stuck, don't know what to do. And not only am I stuck, I'm confused, because when I sit and I'm trying to decide what to do today, I've got 75,000 different options and I don't know which one to pick. It feels like this. It feels like this picture right here where I'm sitting at my desk and I don't know what to do. And so you know what I'm going to do instead? I'm going to go watch YouTube. I'm going to watch NCIS or some other, show on television that, is just going to burn up an hour of my time without giving me anything. That's where you find yourself. And so the question that you need to be asking is, what is my very next step? And how do I know? What is my very next step? And how do I know? That's what I'm going to show you how to figure out. Okay. I have this amazing goal. My very first step is to confirm the time frame of this goal and make sure that it makes sense. From my way of thinking, goals that are out in, 18-month land, 1 year is a nice amount of time. That's fine. A goal that's a year from now, I think that's great. But a 10-year goal, you can have a 10-year goal. Maybe that's more like a vision. You can have a 10-year goal, but for the purpose of this kind of planning, the kind of planning that we're doing now, the 10-year goal would sit on top of what we're talking about. I'm talking about goals that are for this year or for next year. Okay, we're talking about 1 year, 2-year goals. And the reason is goals that are very far away, even a year away, they're not urgent enough to give you any leverage. That's the problem, right? They're way out in the future. You've got plenty of time to deal with a goal that's way out in the future. There's no reason to worry about it now. Once you get a goal that is a smarter goal that you can achieve in 18 months, I want you to break it down into quarterly milestones. This was mentioned earlier today. What am I going to do with this quarter? Why do I want to do that? The reason is, and we'll talk about the book that this comes from in a minute, the reason you want to do this is a quarter's not very long, but it's long enough to get something really massive done. I mean, if you work hard for 3 months on something, you can really deliver something significant, something to celebrate. So what I want you to do is take your goal. Let's work in the context of this description with a year-long goal. I want you to break it into 4 quarterly milestones. So let's say you're going to release a new course. Well, let's say your goal was, before you started this, I'm going to release a new course by the end of the year with 1,000 students. I'm going to have 1,000 students in my course by the end of the year. Okay, what do I need to do? Well, I need 4 milestones for that. One might be research and create the course. That might take 3 months. I mean, if you're really creating a signature course and you can get it researched, validated, created, and online and ready to go in 3 months, that's an amazing accomplishment, right? Go do that. 3 months. Second milestone, I'm going to spend the next 3 months marketing the course. I'm going to do a product launch, formula launch for the course. I'm going to use 3 months to do that. I'm going to create all the sales collateral, webinars, all the stuff. It's going to be amazing. You're not going to believe how successful this launch is going to be. And my goal for that product launch, formula launch, is to have 200 of the 1,000 people that I need. Then in the third quarter, my third milestone, I am going to make that funnel an evergreen funnel. And I'm going to crank up advertising. I'm going to go get another 400 people. At the end of third quarter, I'm going to turn on this evergreen funnel and the people are going to start coming in, because in the fourth quarter, I'm going to be marketing the hell out of this thing. I'm going to be on 3 podcasts a week, and I'm going to be talking about my product, and I'm going to be pushing people into my evergreen funnel, delivering massive value to all of these people that never heard from me before, so that on December 31st, when I go to sleep on New Year's Eve, I'm going to raise a glass because I've got 1,000 people in my course. That's what 4 quarterly milestones look like. Now, once we have those quarterly milestones, we're going to use an idea that comes from a tool called the 12-week year. This is actually a book. If you haven't read this book, I recommend that you do, because a quarter, I'm going to write a course, but I want to break that down into a week-by-week plan. You know, if I tried to break a year down into week by week 30, I'm just kind of like, oh man, this is complicated. But if I just asked you, if you want to do a thing, what are the 12 things that you need to do to make that thing happen? You can do that. I mean, you just did it with 4. I just gave you the 4. Now I said, okay, I'm going to create a course in that first quarter. What are the 12 things I need to do to create a course? Well, guess what step 1 is? Step 1 is like, research and decide exactly what the course is going to be about. And step 2 is going to be something like, in week 2, I'm going to do something like, I'm going to outline the course. And then in week 3, I'm going to do something like record the first module or something like that. And so you can set out a plan, given the amount of resources that you have available, that you can get this thing done in 12 weeks. And so each week, on Sunday night, when you go to do your planning, you're going to know exactly what you need to do in order to get this thing done by the end of the quarter. And then we're going to execute. Because when you go into your plan and you say, oh my God, this is week 3. In week 3, I need to record module 1. You're going to know exactly what you need to do. You need to make sure you've got your script for module 1 done this week. You need to actually record it this week, and you need to edit that video. Those are the 3 things that you need to do. And then you look at that and you go, oh God, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time to do that. Well, now that I've got it down into a weekly thing that I can actually understand, I actually have some hope of getting my mind wrapped around what I got to do this week. I know what I need to do. I need to go on Fiverr and hire a video editor, because I'm not going to have time to edit that video. Right? So I need to get leverage over this problem, because I'm stuck in week 3. I don't have enough bandwidth. I'm going to fall behind unless I go get some more leverage. So I go to the leverage store, which is Fiverr or Upwork, or I call a friend who knows how to edit video, or hire a high school student in the AV program at the high school, and I hire them to edit the video, and I successfully complete my big 3 this week. So that takes us to a day like today. So now it's Wednesday, And I know what my big three are to do this week. So what I do and what's recommended in Michael Hyatt's book, Your Best Year Ever, is I pick the three most important things I can do to achieve my weekly goals every day without fail. I review my weekly goals at night. I look and see how I'm doing, and I write down the three things that I must do tomorrow in order to do that. This completely answers the question of what you should be doing today. There's absolutely no question now whether or not you know what you need to do on a random Tuesday to achieve your goal. And if you get behind, what do? Well, you acknowledge that you're behind, and now you know you're behind because you got a plan and you're behind your plan. You go get some more leverage. Go find a way to get caught up. And is it that, oh God, it's April and now I'm 3 months behind? No, it's week 13 and you're 2 days behind, and you can get some leverage and you actually have a chance to catch up because you're keeping everything inside a box that's just 1 week big. Once you've done this, all of a sudden, everything comes into focus because now you know exactly what to do today. There's no question. And if somebody calls you and says, hey, Mark, can you spend an hour with me? You can actually look and say, no, I can't. I've got 3 things I've got to get done today, and it's already noon, and I haven't done any of them. So I do not have an hour to spend with you, but I can do it next Tuesday, but I don't have it today. Because today, I have to win today. And let me tell you something. If you start today and you have a good plan and you know what you need to do and you win every day for the next 365 days, do you think you're going to like the results? I absolutely guarantee you, 100% guarantee you that if you win every day for 365 days, you're going to win, you're going to like the results. Quick tips. Write things down. I recommend Michael Hyatt's Full Focus Planner. It's excellent. I used it for years. I think it's fantastic. I use the past tense because now I use something different. I use an open journal because sometimes my stuff is more than a page and sometimes it's less than a page, and I like the freedom. You'll notice that there's a pro tip here, and that's put a damn air tag on the thing, because one of the problems with paper journals is that you can lose them. I have done this. I mentioned it in a podcast. I cried tears of pain. I got an air tag. It hasn't happened again. And of course, once I got a new journal, they're not cheap, and an air tag, also not cheap. Then of course, I found the lost journal. Here's an example of my journal. You can see my big 3. If you look on the right-hand side, that's actually yesterday. You can see my big 3 from yesterday involved finishing this presentation was number 1 on the big 3. There are lots of other things going on there that are aligned with the goals that I have, and some notes from Dr. Fred there in the middle, some other things that I need to take care of. Another tip, you can use cool tools. I won't go through all of them today. I use a tool called ClickUp. You can use Asana or Trello, or there's lots of tools you can use to manage projects. I encourage you to use one. Just don't get lost in it. Try to keep that as simple as possible because that's a huge rabbit hole. Here's a screenshot of my dashboard inside of ClickUp that I use to track podcast episodes. On the left-hand side, you can see a big column of episode ideas, and then they go from episode prep to record to editing to promotion. You can see some are in the promotion phase, some are in the prep phase. At the moment, I'm not recording anything, but I will be actually later tonight, and you'll see, if you were watching my ClickUp, you would see things move through there. And I have all kinds of automation. My VAs are in this, and they can see, and when I get into record, that triggers them to do things and so forth. The objection I hear is, Mark, you're talking about a daily plan. I'm not consistent enough. I can't do something every day. I can't operate at this daily discipline level. Read this book. That will fix that. This book has been mentioned several times. It is the perfect companion for this method, and you can stack several habits that will guarantee your completion of these tasks. That's the plan. That's what you need to do, and that's why you need to do it. I am Mark Mason from Late Night Internet Marketing. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you.
Building your business one